I have a very special guest. I need to put this down here. Unless Clean, you want to sponsor me. I have a very special guest on the podcast today, and this is the first time he gave me the idea. I guess I'm going to post my podcast on YouTube. I don't know why I haven't thought of that. I have a YouTube channel, and people see my face, and I like to talk, and why not take a piece of content and use it in as many ways as I can. So this will be the first episode I have on YouTube, which is really exciting. But I have wanted to have this special Angel BB precious person who happens to be my boyfriend on the podcast for a really long time. Not just because he's my boyfriend and I need to have him on so everybody can know about him, but I think that he's a very unique person and our relationship is very unique. And because I've been posting more relationship content lately, just was making some content today for TikTok and Instagram and talking about how like I think our and I don't want to get too much into what we're going to talk about today, but I think our communication and specifically our conflict resolution is so good, and that just makes everything about our relationship like so amazing. I have like a list of questions that I'm going to kind of go through, but if you like this episode and you're like we want a part 2, you can always drop me an email, send me a DM. Let me know questions that you're interested in. Not that my content is going to completely turn into couples content. If we do that, which we kind of have been thinking about, we'll probably create a couples account. We'll probably sprinkle a little bit of that stuff on my page in the beginning, but my page is still going to be my page. I'm still going to be helping you with identity shifts. I'm still going to be helping you with manifestation and a little bit more behind the scenes of the business stuff. I don't talk about it as much, but I still help entrepreneurs. But so much of identity shifting and a part of what I have shifted in, and the reason I found you was because I stepped out of the identity of thinking that what I was asking for was too much. And now I have Brodin, who nothing I ever ask for is too much. And if it ever feels like too much, we have a conversation about it. But I'm never made to feel like I'm too much. And that was so my identity for so long. So yeah, so hi, how you
Hi,
doing?
good, baby.
Ooh, I'm really excited to have you on.
Very excited to be here. It's been a long time coming. We've talked about doing a podcast for a little bit. Actually, this is fun fact, not our first podcast. I think
True. It
within
was like the week. It
two,
was like the week.
no, the month. Had to have been the
No,
month
I'm out. Let's see. Let's check the
because
receipts.
it was first. It was
Let's
for
check the receipt.
we did. I was taking a class in my second. I just graduated uh, from CSU Online with a journalism degree, bachelor's in journalism with a minor in music, stage, and sports production.
Mhm.
And for an assignment, I had to film a podcast and record a podcast. And it happened to be my topic was Pretty Lights, the artist, and that was kind of how Alexis and I had connected first and bonded first was
Over pretty
over
lights.
our mutual love and affection and
Damn
interest
it.
in Pretty Lights. Um,
October 14th. So it was,
oh
so it
wow.
literally was 2 weeks after I told you. Look at us. Look
That's
how cute we
crazy.
are. That's us. I took a screenshot of like the video back when you had long hair. You used to have long
Yeah.
hair, like man bun hair.
Yep.
And now you have a cute little cut.
Hmm.
And he usually wears a hat, and so he's doing us a very big honor of him not wearing a hat. So
Hair's a
yeah,
little long, but
that's okay. That's
yeah.
okay. Okay, so I figured we could kind of start this off by talking about like how we met. And obviously all women love this is to ask, like, of course, you can share with the class how we met and then share like, and I can also ask again because I know we both have memory things and we'll forget where we're going. But what were your first impressions of me? So, but you can share first, like how we met.
I remember the first time I saw you, it was we had kind of like snuck our last vehicle in the group for our group camp at Wakan. Basically, we had
A
like
music festival.
4 or 5 cars, and Alexis was in the last car too. We had already gotten our spot, and so we kind of helped them pull. I helped them pull in, and I remember I knew maybe six of the 20 some people in this group, so I knew that I was meeting a lot of people. Everyone in this vehicle, including Alexis. I did not know Alexis was coming. I did not know she was in this car, but I do remember helping Chris Nishi, shout out Nishi, pull into this spot. And I remember being like, oh my God, there's a girl in the back seat. Like, Let's go the vaccine.
Oh my God.
But my first impression of you, we were sitting at camp under the pop-up canopy, and I felt intimidated. I was definitely nervous, but also kind of going through a lot at the time. And so kind of was just like, what do I have to lose? Like I had no reason to hold back. So I kind of was just like, what's your name again? Like, why are we not talking again? Um, and it just kind of went from there. I think I heard your voice and immediately was attracted to that just being relatively unique.
Which is
Um,
so funny because I literally grew up being like so I got bullied a lot for my voice. So I not that I hated my voice, but I wasn't the biggest fan of it. And then I like started to like it. You obviously met me when I'm a lot older. So, but so the fact that you liked it was kind of cool.
I was wearing a Pretty Lights hat and a Liquid Stranger jersey, and I think that caught her attention because she just wanted to keep talking to me.
Yeah, you're
Um,
kind of cute.
so I think my immediate impression and first impressions of you were you were mysterious, so I didn't know who you were or who you came with. Was intimidated by your beauty, 110%.
You're just saying that.
Mm-mm. You're also taller than the average girl, which so like immediately like you're checking all of these boxes. And I had plans to go to this music festival for like we tried, me and my friend this girl tried to go to this music festival several years in a row, and we were finally doing it, and on the way there she backed out, and so I was like that's what I meant by thank God, in a weird headspace, and was kind of like I got nothing to lose, like my all my plans, and we relate very heavily on that when we do have plans or make plans or have plans set and have been set for a long time. It's really hard for us to kind of
Adjust
adjust and adapt,
when they
and
get like changed or canceled.
exactly. And so that was like 2 hours. I found out 2 hours into this
Long road trip,
12,
13.
13-hour road trip. And so kind of had the rest of the time to get over it and the next day and setting up camp. So it was crazy timing, I feel like, because I had just finally gotten to the point where I was realizing the situation that I was in and knew I just wanted to make the best of it. And so I knew I just wanted to like seize the moment, and surrender to the moment was the big thing. It's crazy how fast it happened.
Hmm. Well, because I think we both noticed each other pretty quickly. Like, definitely noticed because you had two of my favorite artists on, and you also were like the little sunshine, cute boy, and not usually my type in terms of like the fact that you were younger than me, which we'll get there, but like you were younger than me and you were like blonde, and like I don't necessarily have a preference,
Long
but
hair,
yeah,
don't care. I had my
blonde white boy.
bandana.
Because like blonde white boy, like who is this? But I noticed you had really good manners. I'm pretty sure I heard him say yes, ma'am pretty quickly, and then he just used it for the rest of the weekend. And I was like, I've never dated a man that says yes, man as much as he did. And I was like, I
Take
like
notes.
this. Yeah.
Take
So,
notes, boys.
what did you think when you found out? I want to ask myself this question flipped, but what did you think when you found out that I was 8 years older than you, or 8 years, 8 months, and 14 days? I think it is specifically
Hell yes.
because you like older women,
I do have a history of liking older
but
women.
there's a reason why.
Yes, I have most recently had a pretty poor experience with someone a little bit younger than me, and kind of was like, okay, that's it. That's the last time that I'll probably date someone that's not my age or older. What's my reason for liking older women?
Well, I guess maybe this is
I have my deep-rooted trauma issues, but
Oh, I mean it more of like, because you kind of told me once we, really started having like deeper conversations that like there's a correlation to an older woman. It's similar to the stuff that your mom said. Like older women are going to appreciate the fact that you have manners
Mm.
and like they're going to pay attention to,
They're gonna notice everything is
yeah,
what is one of the things, and I think one of the things that I really try to do is be intentional when meeting someone and getting to know someone and like spending quality time with someone. Um, and so I think that was a massive piece in our puzzle of that's just the way I am as a human, and you're gonna notice it instead of look right past it or not be paying attention to it, um, which is all I feel on the other end. So that's something that I was looking for sure.
yeah. And I was just thinking of something, but I think I forgot it. Um, I think, and this is not necessarily me complimenting myself, but I know that you'll agree without me even before you even asking you. But I think also like older women have more experience, like in lots of things, but in like my intelligence and the experiences that I have and what I can like share with you and offer you just as a person, like that's naturally just going to happen regardless of
And
whether you're with somebody who's really smart or like natural or just like generally smart.
and I was over it. I was over being I wanted someone that matched me or could help me. I was tired of being the
More emotionally intelligent
more
one.
emotionally intelligent one, but also like giving more of myself. My entire life, all of the relationships that I've had before you, I
The
was
giver.
getting my happiness based off of my partner's happiness. The happiness I got out of the relationship was by making sure that my partner was happy.
Mm,
And that drained me.
I'm sure.
I gave all of my energy, effort, and everything to make sure that my partner was happy so that I could be happy. And that's how I thought it worked.
Mm-mm.
And through my addiction and just conversation with people, really, I kind of realized that that is not what I was looking for in a partner. What I was looking for in a partner was an equal counterpart that, we'd riff off each other 50-50 in terms of just like how we live life and help one another. If not, I'll always take the extra help. I got like 7 concussions and am kind of a goofball dingus. Like,
Well, you're
so
mine.
I'm your dingus.
Me finding out that you were 25 at the time, immediately I was like, absolutely not. I remember we were standing at a stage and we hadn't talked about our age yet. And then I had asked, I was like, wait, like, how old are you? Because I could tell he was emotionally intelligent more than most men, like, immediately. Like, you can probably already tell now, he's not normal 26-year-old.
I was
But,
flirting with her pretty heavy, and
oh
then I
my
think she was
God.
like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 what are we doing here? And how old are you again?"
Yeah, I was like, I gotta make sure you're not like 19 years old or something.
I tried to hide from you for as long as I could how old I was, because I knew
Yeah, that
you were
gonna
going
be
to
scared.
literally turn around and walk the other way.
And I
I
ran away. I literally ran away.
literally ran away.
I was like, "Oh my God." And I like ran. It was like during the daytime, and our friend group was like 40 people. So I was like, I'm running away, and I'm just gonna go hide. But then I came back like 30 seconds later.
One of our really good friends, Brandon, who was there at that time, literally, he told me the other day that he watched me just absolutely start smitting and not when you ran away. He like saw me like be like, "Oh God, like yeah, that was really cute." Oh my God. And now that he's gotten to know me more, he's like seen the thought process, like knows my thought process and facial expressions getting through that. And he was like, "I 100% just watched all of that happen."
I love that. But so finding out that you were 25 at first, I was like, absolutely not. Because I had gotten a divorce, but that had been, a good year and a half or so. I had had my situationship, which I've talked about a bunch on the podcast. I had my like very quick flame high and then died after 3-month relationship. And I had gotten out of that in July. Or no, actually, it was May the 4th. No, it was like May, I don't even know. It doesn't matter. But it was like July, and then Wakan was at the end of September. So that's like July, August, September, like barely 3 months later. So I had kind of been like, I am not looking to date. Very much that situation where you're like, you find somebody when you're not looking. I was not going to this music festival, and I was going by myself. Like I met friends there, but I traveled by myself. I met them in the airport. They picked me up, and I was traveling home by myself. And so I was going by myself, and then finding out that you were 25 and finding out other things about you. I was just like, I remember I told my friends, and my friends, of course, are just looking out for me, and they're like, don't do it. Don't do it. Run. You do not need to be dating the 25-year-old. And I very much had my guard up, I think, for the first time. And I think that's why we worked out, because most of the time I've been an anxious, attached girly, but I've worked on that so much. And you guys know that I went on like my boy sober journey and all that stuff before some of this happened. And so I feel like once I met you, I was in a really good place to find someone, in the sense of I had high standards, I had
Hmm.
boundaries, and I was like, well, okay, we can flirt. This will be fun, but like this isn't going to turn into anything. And then like once we started to hang out a little bit more, and like you consistently proved yourself, and like your actions matched your words, but also just your emotional intelligence, I think, was just another level. It wasn't just like you were good at having conversations. It was something that I could really tell, which I thought was kind of what made me be like, okay, I guess maybe I can try.
I
Um,
remember texting you and you being like, all my friends are telling me this is really stupid, and I hope you know that.
yeah, I was very honest, and I've never been that way. And I think that is a lot of what I've been sharing lately, especially on TikTok, is like people will either message me or comment on my content and be like, I feel like I've had this similar feeling, or like even the relationship I had before I met you, like I literally told this person I loved them after like 4 days, which is the first time I've ever done that in my life. And so like I made a post about this, but I think what I want to talk about it here is like I think there's a huge difference between, like, some girl commented and she was like, I had a guy that was the same way. He like showered me with compliments. He was so nice. He had good manners. And then like he disappeared after however many months. And I was like, there's a very big difference. Like one thing that you did not do is you did not love bomb me at all. And the one thing that we've talked about a lot is that, and I've never experienced, is that, and I think we were both afraid to admit it to each other. I think I'm the one that brought it up, but I talked about how like we didn't really have butterflies, like extreme butterflies, like those, like,
Right.
oh my God, I feel like I'm gonna puke. When if you learn more about it, you find out that that's typically a trauma response, because your body is remembering like this, like overwhelming love bombing, too crazy wild experience. And it was more of like, I know it sounds really cheesy, but it felt more like safety, it
It's
felt more
total.
like home.
Yeah.
Yes. And so it wasn't like I didn't get excited. Like of course I still felt those butterflies, but it wasn't nauseating.
Right.
It was like, it was more of like, this is exciting in a normal way. And I think the fact that you didn't love bomb me, the fact that like I was like very much like, you could tell I had like walls up, you had your own walls up too that you told me about. I think the fact that we did that and we slowly just worked to show each other that we were a safe place for the other
Right.
person allowed this to be what it is.
Well, and I was living with my mom at the time.
That was another red flag. When I told my best friend, she was like, "What do you mean?" And like I've lived with my parents too. I know so many people have. So that to me wasn't the biggest red flag.
Right.
I think the second thing, well, was your mom. It was the fact that you were 25,
And that I was
a
a
recovering.
recovering addict.
Yeah. And so if you just look at
The
that on paper,
trifecta.
if you look at that on paper, 8 years younger than you, 25, recovering addict, and lives with a mom, like, of course,
I'd have ran for the hills of Irene too.
exactly. And so, but I very much, and it was like, because everybody's always like, oh, I just like have this feeling, because I've said that about people before, but this was a different feeling. And, but again, that's why I had my walls up, because I was like, okay, he seems different, but if these things are still here, I still need to make sure that I'm being smart. Okay, so let's kind of move past this piece. Let's kind of jump into more of like our communication, this emotional intelligence side of things. So I think that our communication, and specifically conflict resolution, is probably one of the most like our superpower of
Yeah.
our relationship, and why it's so good. What do you think makes our communication work so well? And whether that's like comparing it to what you've had in the past, or Like what you love about it, like what about it like really stands out for you?
I think it's our desire for transparency. I think
Oh yeah, I guess yeah, yeah. I'm like running through things in my head, and I feel like that's a really good way to summarize it for sure.
desire for transparency. We want to know things. We want to know what's up, what's happening. Um,
Or very much not because it just happened, I think, last night when you noticed I was being like a little bit like in my head. And it's so funny, I made a piece of content about this. We very much, for the first time in my life, like if we feel a certain way, I've so many relationships, even with like family members and friends and stuff. If you notice somebody's like in a bad mood or whatever, a lot of times it'll take a bit for a person to either be the one that says, "Hey, is there something wrong? I
mhm,
noticed there's a mood shift," or the person to admit that there's something
right.
wrong. With you and I, it's like 10 minutes maybe. It's
Yeah.
not even the hours.
When it feels like a long time almost.
Yeah, oh, for
But
sure.
I think I think I had someone tell me like the best thing you can do is make sure that neither of you go to bed angry,
And which we have not done.
which
I
we've
don't think we
never.
ever will.
I took it a step further. I feel like as a young male in my 20s, going through what I was, I knew I kind of had to step up to the plate.
And I told you you did.
Also, it got very verbally reinforced by you saying, "Hey, like if you know if this is gonna be what you say you want it to be,
And you're gonna date a
that your
34 year
actions are gonna match your words, it's not gonna be easy. You're gonna have to step up to the plate." So I think I like really realized a lot about what a healthy relationship was by being by meeting you and like
Mhm.
having you in my life. So I think it conveniently I learned as I went, but I did by putting myself in that situation because I just couldn't get away from you, dude. I really couldn't. Just infatuated with everything about you. Um, I think that well, I took it another step, that the idea of don't go to bed angry. I
Mhm.
took it another step, or I think our relationship forced me to, or like presented the opportunity to take it another step of like, don't even go 10 minutes
Mhm.
with that. Like, maybe use your judgment on, okay, now's maybe not the time to like have this conversation.
Yeah.
She needs to, or I need to go fuss, as we call it, for half an hour, but almost immediately it should be. I think that's the best piece of advice that I can give is like find the right time right away to
Yeah.
have a conversation about it. If something's off, if you had an argument, you if anything happens where you feel like you are not on the same page,
Talk about it.
feel it, take a sec, regulate, but then address it right away. You can't let it simmer because if you let it simmer, especially for you and I,
We're overthinkers.
overthinkers as
Fuck.
all
And
hell.
I think
We're
that's also why
both
we
so deep
work
in our
together
heads.
well.
Exactly. So it's like I think that's why our communication is so good is
We know what
because
it feels like to be in our head, and
each other's head.
we don't want the other person to feel like how we know it feels.
And also I went to Outward Bound and like learned how to communicate directly and I think you communicate in such an effective way. It's direct communication and it's you don't hold anything back. I think your part of your personality is something that makes our communication so well because you are so blunt
And honest.
and honest and open and you're fucking from fucking Philly
Go
and
birds.
go birds and
I love you so much.
so I really do. I think a part of my answer is your personality.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think you make it easy to communicate
Yeah. And
and have good communication.
it's so funny that you say that, and just I feel the same way about you, but it's so funny you say that because I was going through my drafts on TikTok today because a lot of times like I'll get comments that I want to make a video on, but I don't have like the capacity to make a video on it. And so I'll just save it as a draft. And I went through one today, which just kind of goes perfectly in line with what you were just saying, that I think is a question that some people will ask. And this person said, do you think, because I've shared a lot of videos about Brodin recently, and people are always like, where did you find him? And somebody asked, like, do you think that he is naturally like that, or do you think he adjusted to you to meet you where you needed? And my answer, I haven't made the video yet, but my answer is both.
Ah, let's
Like, I
go.
think that I really think that you and I are 100% soulmates, and I know everybody says that, but like I think you can just you'll be tell from this conversation. But I think you're naturally the way you are. I think you were raised right. I think the fact that you went to Outward Bound, I think the fact that you went through addiction and got yourself sober and did all those things, I think accumulate to make you who you are. But kind of like you were saying, you had to step up to the plate. And because my communication is really great, I think that well, this is the most important part. And this is the part where I'm not saying you can't find a man like Brodin because you can. He's definitely a unique individual. But like, if you believe there's other Brodins out there, because there are, he has plenty of friends that are really amazing as well. But I think the most important thing to keep in mind that is very special about you that I appreciate for being a man is you, and it's like literally top quality for you, in my opinion. You are so good at getting feedback and adjusting it. And I think you already were here in terms of your emotional intelligence and communication, but I feel like because I'm honest and I tell you exactly what I want, I'm not the kind of person that makes you read my mind. I'm not the kind of person that plays games. You know, that makes it so I tell you what I want and we communicate and we talk about it and we do it in a healthy way. There's no yelling, there's no like being mean to the other person. And so that makes it so like you can adjust and you tell me things that like you want me to do as well,
Yeah.
but I think that just makes it so like you have stepped up to the plate because you're open to feedback. So if you're a man listening to this, because I shared this in a TikTok the other day, not on Instagram, but I've had a few guys since I've had a few guys since I've been sharing that have messaged me and have fully admitted that says I'm actually a guy that's not happy with the way I treat my partner or not happy with the way I've treated my partner. I want to follow you to so I can learn how to be better, which is very rare for a man to
Yeah,
say.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
so
if you're not improving, what are you doing? And if you're a man and you want to have that dynamic in your life, you have to be receptive to feedback. If you want to be a successful individual in this world and have good
go
communication,
to Outward Bound.
you have to be capable of receiving feedback,
Yeah, and I think
positive and constructive.
yes. And I think that if you're somebody who's listening to this, or you're like, oh, I want to send my partner this, like, and you're listening to this and your partner sent you this, like, receive this with love. Follow my page. We're going to be sharing more of like our relationship and Broden related things and probably create a couples account at some point, depending on how it goes. I mean, not that it has to, pop off just for us to make it. We can make it regardless, but this can be a place like we want to share our ability to communicate because I know it's unique. I talk to a lot of people and I have a lot of I've always been the person where my friends come to me for advice and I've had my own experiences. I know that our communication is unique, but I don't think that that means it can't exist in the world. I want to, just like I do with my page and have for the past 13, 14 years, I want to be a positive influence to other people. So and I feel like I see that at couples accounts all the time where they talk about their communication. I'm like, oh my God, it's a real example. I want to see more of that. And I'm like, well, I have that now. Let's share it with other people. So
And the best part is we're only getting started.
yeah,
We've known each other for how long? Been dating for how
it'll
long?
be a year, February 19th.
February 19th.
We
So coming up on a year. And I really do think that we are
just moved in together a month ago.
right now the iceberg that sank the Titanic.
But in
Like,
a good way.
yeah. Like we have we are seeing the capability of our communication, and there's still this much more for us to discover on how we can communicate, but just like how partners can communicate.
100%. I kind of talked about this, but I believe our conflict resolution is what makes what will make our relationship last? Like, this is more of a share and less of a question, but I think one of the things I like about us so much is that our communication is good, but specifically conflict resolution in the sense that we're able to communicate and talk. And I think honestly, I'd want to have a whole podcast episode on that because people want that's like one of the biggest things that people
Right.
need. If you don't have I saw a therapist that I follow that says everybody talks about how communication is the most important thing to a relationship, but she's like, I don't agree because she talks about she's a couples therapist. She says it's conflict resolution.
If you can't get through a conflict with your partner,
It's not going to work. And the thing that I know makes our conflict resolution so good is and I told you this the other day, whenever we're done, I feel so much closer to him. Like I want to kiss him and love him, and I'm like, oh, that was so good.
it's like
Like,
we beat another level in a video
yes,
game.
literally. And like in every relationship I've ever been in, and the relationships I've seen in my family and with my friends and whatever, anytime people get in an argument, even if it ends and like you have makeup sex, whatever, like it's good. Like that initial we just finished arguing, disagreeing, whatever, usually isn't always, it's kind of like, okay, like I'm glad we talked about that, but it's more of like a neutral
Right.
place. With you and I, it feels like you said, we just beat another level. We got closer and closer, and like that, I think is so unique. I've
Or almost
never,
like another layer of the onion got peeled back
yeah.
that a new state unlocked.
Oh my God, shut
Shout out Ryan
Oh
Trahan.
my God. Um, so how is this is a question I kind of changed around. How is your experience slash how do you handle dating someone who is neurodivergent, ADHD, autistic, OCD? Like, because I think that's an important thing that I knew was important when I was looking for a partner was somebody that could handle me in terms of me being overstimulated and sometimes like how I get and I am like not like just I'm weird and quirky whatever, but like the needs I have
Yeah.
in terms of you being understanding. Like, do you think that's something that like you were just naturally built to do? Do you feel like that scared you at first, or are you just kind of like it's not even a thing? Like, what is your experience with me in that sense?
Yeah, I do really chalk a lot of it up to patience, which I know is kind of ironic
You have
because
a
maybe I'm
lot of patience in a lot of areas. There's some you have patience like this much patience in most areas, and then there's some small areas where you have this much patience. But in most areas, you have more patience than anybody I've ever met.
so, and I think that's a goal of mine is to kind of like
Even it out.
grow, or not even it out, but grow the ones that are lacking,
Yeah.
areas that are lacking patience, or more so the ability to be patient,
Yeah.
because that's also tied to like regulating your nervous system. I think I have a small history and background in working with people that are neurodivergent and having conversations where they're vulnerable about how their brain works
Mm.
and how it's different. Not necessarily why it's different, but how. Like
Mm.
how they see society society's brain working
Mm.
and how they've compared it to their own,
Mm.
and that's something that's super interesting to me. um so I think I credit it to a little bit of my past and
To
my
your
past
experiences.
experiences. um and like don't take this the wrong way by any means, but also like working with kids.
Yeah.
100%. But outward bound and being an instructor and being a content coordinator in that space where you're outside of your comfort zone.
Mm.
You are pushing boundaries and experiencing things that you never have before. I think the emotional aspect to experiencing an outward bound course, the emotions of that, of being outside your comfort zone and doing new things, and you're put into a group of complete strangers. There's like almost similarities and ties to how neurodivergent brains work. So I think between my experiences and the patients that I naturally have
Yeah.
in certain areas. And like, are you kidding me? Look at her. She's really freaking cute. So it's like,
It's easy to be patient, I
it's a
guess.
lot easier to be patient,
Mhm.
especially when I feel the way about you that I do,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So I hope I answered your
Making me
question.
blushed. Okay, so this is a small section, but still wanted to talk about it because I do have a lot of people on my page who've either been through or are currently going through a long-term breakup or divorce. Um, what was it like and how is it like being with someone that has been divorced? Just a general experience. And then you could also be like, nothing really.
Yeah, I mean, you can't change the past, and the past makes us all who we are in the moment. Um, so you can't shy away from it. You can't ignore it. You can't bury it. I think it's best to acknowledge it. Um,
You've been pretty open because
you
I don't hold back from if we're having a situation or something happens or you do something that for me is slightly triggering because it was like, well, that's what my ex did. Like, and we'll talk about it. It's not like we don't have a conversation about it, but I told you from the beginning, like one, like not that my ex is still in my life in the sense of like we hang out, but occasionally like he'll take Ned or like that's really the only thing that ever really comes up. But like I told you that from the beginning, like we didn't hate each other. It wasn't this thing where it's like you're the worst person ever. Like so there might be occasional times where that happens, and I
right.
feel like you've been pretty understanding of that. So I'm curious like well, you can share if you have anything that do you have something to share.
Mm.
Okay. I was just curious, like maybe to kind of get more specific with that question is like, do you have any advice for anybody who is like any whether man or woman or whoever who is getting in a relationship with someone and there is somebody who they either had a divorce with or whatever and they want to be able to like support their partner or like give them space to bring
Yeah.
these things up without letting it affect them.
Yeah. Um, I think be honest with yourself and be honest with your partner. Um, if you have an issue with it and you can't work through it, then so be it. Like that's really tough, but also at the same time, if you really love this person, the reason they are who they are is their past experiences. So you can't shy away from that. You can't diminish that. You can't regret it. You can't want them to regret it. I think the biggest thing that you can do is support them because they're going through it much more than you're going through it.
Yeah. It's being
It,
selfless in that.
yeah, it may be difficult for you. It may be something that you're uncomfortable with, but like I said, it's how you guys both got here. So I think the best piece of advice I have is to give ungodly amounts of support. Like that's what I've tried to do with you. You know, you and your ex are in a thankfully a great place in terms of it didn't necessarily
Was it nasty?
blow up,
Yeah.
and like if it did then it completely cut ties, and so like that could, you know, like there's a wound there for you.
Hmm.
Not that there isn't now,
Yeah.
but I think that the wound is not as gaping or infected um as a wound that from a separation that really ended poorly, and your partner was really hurt by.
Yeah. So I want to kind of switch the combo to something we haven't necessarily talked about. We talked about it a little bit in a post I made recently, a little achievement cake post. You should totally check it out. It's really cute. But I'd love for you to share your story about addiction and then what made you decide to get sober. But share a little bit first about like just kind of, you know, just go into like super detailed anything that you feel comfortable with, but like just more about your story about addiction.
Yeah. I was born and raised in Colorado, and I think we've talked about it a little bit. Colorado and the EDM rave scene culture is like relatively prominent. I also grew up like 20 minutes from Red Rocks, and had a lot of older influences in my life. So probably about 16 was like the rise of like Molly and all the, and so I had a lot of warning signs of drugs are bad. Just the stereotypical story of stay away from drugs. Um, but like most, you experiment. And so I started using cocaine casually only at concerts. But as someone who goes to a lot of concerts and really enjoys that atmosphere and that
And
community
dopamine.
and dopamine in music. I mean, music's my life. I work in the music industry. I listen to music all damn day long. Music is definitely what makes me happy. And the two just got blurred. They really did. I think they got blurred pretty quickly. Um, Especially as I started drinking because I only was using Coke when I was going to shows, like I said, but I think when I started drinking more, probably like 19, 20 years old, so in the middle of college and then kind of COVID. I think the two go hand in hand very much so, and so I rapidly kind of spiraled out. I ended up working in the service industry, and the service industry is absolutely
Very
littered.
notorious for that.
Yep. And I had been warned about it and briefed on it and prepped on it, and it's a shame, but like none of it mattered because the course was going to happen for me the way that it did regardless. And I am very happy with my life now, so I don't really take anything
No regrets
sideways.
over
Yeah,
here.
no regrets over here. Um, my 21st birthday, my mom bought me a handle of Maker's Mark, and it was gone in 3 days, and several $100s was spent in that 3 days. And me and my close friend now are both sober. We accredit that month to be the worst month of our lives, 110%. Um, I think we pushed each other down a very deep hole and enabled one another. And I think that's like a huge aspect of addiction that not a lot of people talk about is the enabling aspect. And there are conversations being had about it in your local CA classes and meetings. But it's not something that like the casual drinker or user is talking about is like this social aspect of drugs and alcohol is
It just fuels the fire.
toxic.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what really drove me down the hole, which is ironic because I ended up in a hole by myself. I was isolating myself. I was embarrassed because I would go on benders and be visibly um, unwell. Um, and it was obvious that I was using and abusing.
What I know, obviously, you just talked about that like experience of what happened that with that month. Was that what made you get sober, or is there something in particular? And you
Thanks.
can share what you feel comfortable with. Because I know that you and I have had conversations about certain things, but I want you to share whatever you're comfortable with that kind of made you decide to get sober.
I think why I got sober was I was tired of it. I was tired of questioning my own actions and being upset with myself. I think I got sober because I knew my life had so much more to offer than where my addiction was taking me. I think I got sober because I pushed away so many people and lost out on so many amazing experiences and opportunities. Oh man, the opportunities I could have had, but it wouldn't have ended me here. So it's like, it's tough.
You learned a
100%.
lesson from it. That in itself is an opportunity.
Um, I think I got sober because I was craving connection, and the opposite of addiction is connection. So I think my desire for genuine, real connection is what forced me to get sober.
Yeah. And I think that just full circle moment is like you and I have such an amazing connection that like that makes not that you were getting sober so you could find the love of your life, but I think that that's just
Well,
a
also, like, no one's gonna, it's not gonna, you're never gonna have a healthy relationship. The
yeah
last relationship I had, the, the three relationships I had at the end
before you met me.
before I met you were all based in,
Toxic,
not based,
enabling.
yeah, they all were all involved, like, cocaine was involved in all three of them. And those three relationships were probably the things that hurt me the worst when I was using.
Yeah.
Like I hurt myself a lot. A lot of my decisions really hurt me, but the impact that my addiction and using had on my relationships was the biggest gouge in my heart for sure.
Yeah.
So also probably one of the biggest reasons,
Yeah.
tying it back to what you said,
Yeah.
was just wanting more out of life.
Yeah. So a question that I have that I think actually is a little bit more of a question for me is like what is a misconception that people have about dating an addict? And I've never dated someone. I've addiction runs in my family, so I'm very familiar with addicts. Being around addicts in many ways, shape, or form is not something that is foreign to me. But dating an addict is definitely not something that I ever thought I would do. Kind of, not that they're the same, and this might seem like a crazy analogy, but like in the same way that someone dating somebody in the military, like, or that's a cop or something like that, like first responders, like you have to make a decision that you know if you're going to date someone in the military, you're going to date someone who's a first
Mm.
responder, you're a firefighter, somebody who's an addict, you are making, if you're going to be with them long term, you are making a lifetime commitment to knowing that there could be something that dramatically changes your life. If you're dating someone that's in the military, they could die. I mean, this can happen to any average day person, but when you're in a situation that has that as a higher chance. I know that dating someone that's an addict, and I learned this from Brodin from the very beginning, is that whenever I would say you struggled with addiction, he was like, "No, I am an addict."
Struggle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a present and it will always be an everyday thing. And sobriety is his number one priority over me all day, every day, all the time. And I have absolutely no problem with that. That's very important. Because I always tell him he's number one anyway. And so sobriety always is going to come in that as well. Um but I think that I had to once it was past the point of because there was like the beginning and I shared with my friends and I had one friend specifically that was like it told me these horror stories about how she had a friend that dated someone that was an addict and it wasn't until 7 years in that he relapsed and she was like that might not happen to you but it could so you might as well just avoid it and I was like fuck like that's a pretty big thing to think about but it was at least something that made me think and once I got to know him and understand him and really understand him as a person, but him as an addict, I thought that it was worth the chance and it was worth the risk. And in all honesty, it's always going to be a risk every day for the rest of our lives. But you continue to show me that all the things that you do to prioritize your sobriety and like I think it's going back to what I shared earlier about your ability to receive feedback and that itself makes me feel like you are just a person who's always going to continue to want to grow and do better. And when you have someone that's like that, not that they can't fall back into addiction or they can't make mistakes and do anything like that or whatever, but like that to me is a really good indicator that someone has a very good chance of not relapsing. And we're never going to like pretend that that can't happen, but I think it was one, you were very much worth the risk, and two, you show me through your actions and the way that you are as a person that I feel like I can trust that there's a lower chance of it happening. There's always going to be a chance, which we won't pretend that there's not, but there's a much lower chance. If I was with you and I knew you were an addict, but you showed me with certain behaviors that like I was like, oh, I don't really know. But like you and I both made decisions with certain things with like just our decisions and the things that we do when we go to festivals, whatever, like we have gotten rid of so much shit. Even like I decided to go sober from alcohol, like, and you've supported me in that, and you've been a really big supporter in all of that. And I just there's just a lot of little things that make me feel like again you're worth the risk, and I can trust you. So yeah, no.
And on the flip side, if you're a recovering addict, you know that based on our conversations, I hit the jackpot. Like this is what we yearn for and look for is someone that makes it all worth it every single day, the fight that we fight. Um, and so I think that's also something to say about addicts is like a it's like a huge redeeming quality. You won't find anyone that will work harder at something than someone who's in recovery.
Mm-hmm.
You will not.
Mm-hmm.
There are many pages online and companies in the world that hire recovering addicts, and it's tough. It's a tough business, but also if you find the people in recovery that have already made the mental switch that they know they want their life to get better, because it's the threshold of I'm not sure yet because I'm still in the throes of addiction. They maybe haven't hit rock bottom,
Mm.
but it's that rock bottom feeling of like, I want and know that I want better. Um, that I think is a special attribute that addicts have that you may not find in other the common folk.
Yeah, or you might find it, but it's not going to be as a prominent of a
Prominent.
thing. I mean, I realized I kind of I answered. I think I answered in a way that will be helpful, but I realized I didn't necessarily give like a common misconception, essentially. And another thing I did that I think is really important if you're going to date somebody that has been through addiction or is actively going through addiction is of reading. I'm trying to find the book that I read, but I knew I was like, okay, I'm gonna date this person. Like, I need to understand what it's like to date an addict, especially being somebody that like I'm a life coach. It is literally not only am I this is my job, but I'm a Virgo. I'm naturally the kind of person that wants to give advice and I like having control. And so I had read this book. It's called Loving Someone in Recovery. And one thing that I learned when I read that book was that their journey is their responsibility and you are just there to support them. You are not there to teach them how to be sober. They're already doing that. Like he was already close to a year sober when I met him. But as someone who always wants to help people and it's literally my job, that was something that and I don't think I've ever done that anyway, but like I immediately had to learn that pretty quickly that that was not my job. I can help you and guide you and support you in other ways, but like your sobriety is just something that I have to be your cheerleader in and nothing else.
Yet another reason why I knew I wanted to fight so hard for you every day and still do and wake up feeling that same passion is you had interest in it. It's not like, I'm sure it was scary, but also you didn't do nothing.
Yeah.
You
I
did.
read that book like probably within the first like 3 months of knowing you.
It's
Because I
fucking insane.
because I knew immediately I was like, okay, like I want to also read this book. 'Cause maybe I'm gonna read it and I'm gonna be like, I don't think I can do this. Like there were definitely some things I read in the book that were like, made me a little bit scared. But again, it was like I'd get scared and then you'd show up and be a good partner, and then and then it kind of like quelled that nervousness. But I think it's kind of going back to the original question of like, what is a common misconception? I don't really know what a common misconception is, but I can maybe guess like what it might be. And I think that maybe a misconception that I came in before I started learning more about it was that, and I guess it's going to be so different for
Yeah,
every single person. Like,
what's a misconception you had about dating an
yeah,
addict?
I think like I thought it was going to be like you were like in the, and again, I might have, if I met you at a different time, it might have been different,
Hmm.
but I thought it was going to be this thing that was going to be like a constant conversation constantly in the sense of like you were fighting it every day. Like you wake up and you're like, I want to do this. You know what I mean? Like maybe if I met you at a different time or, I think that like just for you specifically, I thought that maybe it was going to be more of a, everyday, all the time thing, or that the behaviors of an addict were going to show up more.
Right.
So like either
Definitely the
like
time.
lying, like what's the word I'm thinking of? Like just like things that addicts can do because again, I have experience with them in order to get what they want. I didn't know if those behaviors were going to roll over into you, but I don't think I noticed that really at all. There maybe could be some like crosshairs with things, but they're all very like minuscule compared to
Right.
like anything
And
major.
I think something to note is this isn't the first time I've been sober. I got sober when I went to Outward Bound. I came back and relapsed. I got sober again for 3 months. I relapsed again. And then things got serious. Shit got really real very quickly. And, I think that was my rock bottom because I took all these steps to help with my addiction and help get through and start recovery. But it all was useful and it all came to fruition and clicked eventually, but it didn't click right away.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing I learned. Not that I didn't know this, I kind of did, but it was just like confirmed, is that most of the time, I don't know if there's like a percentage, but from what I've read, it seems like 95% of addicts like have tried to get sober more than once. Like it's not like you try to get sober once and that's the first time and everybody does it first try. I'm sure there have been people that have done that, but most addicts try to get sober and relapse multiple times before they hit that last point
Yeah,
where they finally, get there. So,
100%.
yeah. Okay, so last little category, we're gonna do like a fun little rapid fire, but before we get to that, kind of some things about like our relationship as this like I don't want to say like goal relationship, but I do believe that our relationship is really really great and there's probably a lot of people that would like to have a relationship like
Well,
ours and I'm not shying away from saying that that's the case.
I think we have really high expectations for our relationship
High
also.
standards,
That's
very
why,
much
yeah.
so.
Yeah.
What I know we kind of talked about this, but like kind of full circle closing out this episode, if you could maybe put it into like a sentence or two, what do you think makes our relationship different from others? And maybe not that you can't repeat something that we've already said, but is there anything that comes to mind that you feel like makes our relationship different from other people's? Or even just your relationships in your past?
I think it's our ability to be vulnerable with one another.
Like
We don't
really truly vulnerable because there's
we
levels to
do
that.
not shy away from being vulnerable. And I think some of the greatest things that I've seen and experienced or been a part of or heard of come from being vulnerable. I mean, there's so much on the other side of fear that if you're afraid in your relationship, it may not thrive. If you're afraid of your relationship, it's definitely not going to thrive.
If you can't be vulnerable with your partner, who else? Like you can be vulnerable with your best friends, but like there's still a difference between a platonic relationship and like your partners, especially if you're not like asexual or somebody who doesn't want to be in a relationship, then this probably is not for you. But if you're somebody who desires a relationship at some point, your partner is the person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with. If you can't be vulnerable with that person,
You're fucked.
yeah, what are you gonna do? And if you're not ready to do that right now, that's okay. We're not
Mhm.
telling you that you have to do that, but if you eventually want to, that should be a goal of yours, is to your ability to open up, especially if you're avoidant. That should be like number one, something that you want to focus on before you get into a relationship.
Yeah, vulnerability and honesty.
Yeah,
Because,
and I told you that from the beginning. All I want is for you to be honest.
right.
And that's all I'm gonna ask of you. Because I'm honest as fuck. Sometimes people like to call it blunt. Whatever. If you could describe our love in one word, what would it be? You could also use a word that you've already used before, but I didn't think of my answer
I
for
don't know
myself.
if it's necessarily the most accurate. I'll give another one, but the first thing that popped into my head was exotic.
Exotic.
I don't know
Oh
if that's
shit.
right. One word to describe our love,
Yeah, I know that's hard, but
like fiery.
it's so funny because we're so similar, like in so many ways. Like I could go on, but like
Like,
we're like weirdly, like not like we are the same person. Like yes, that's it. But like
no, we have the same
so
brain.
so many synchronicities. We have the same brain. Like if he has a paper cut on his pinky, I'm somehow gonna have a paper cut on my pinky. When he got hit by a car earlier this year, he called me. And while on the phone with me, I not watched it happen, but like seconds after, drove by someone who just got hit by a car. Like people were in the street, like holding this person's head. You could see the motorcycle, like shit like that. The synchronicities are
My hip will
crazy.
hurt, and then her hip will hurt the next day.
We share the same soul, not even the same brain. Same soul, same brain. But the reason I'm saying that is because we're usually the same. My answer to that question, the first word that came to mind to me was easy.
Mm.
Like we if you want a healthy relationship, it's going to be hard work.
I was
But
gonna
I
say
mean
I
in the sense
disagree because it's not
but
like
not
our love is easy.
that's what I
Okay,
so
yeah,
you know what I mean? So but so to kind of emphasize that because I definitely don't want to make it sound like it's easy. We we work so hard at it, so it is easy.
right.
Like we talk about that all the time where like we have to put in work to be like this. Like
Every
if you're
day.
listening to this and you're watching this and you're like, "Oh my God, I want a relationship like that." And again, I will not be just like I'm not apologetic for saying I'm confident in who I am. I'm also confident in this relationship and I know that we communicate well. Ned.
What are
I
you
wish you could see Ned
doing,
right now.
buddy? God
He looks so
damn.
grumpy. Um, we work really hard and we have tough conversations. I'm so surprised we haven't fucking said this because we talk about this all the time and I've said this from the beginning. Another thing besides the conflict resolution that I think is one of the things that makes our relationship so good is that you've heard this before, but I feel like we are the full embodiment and amplification, is that word?
Exempt.
Exemplary example of this is we are very much the couple. I like that's a preface. It is us against the problem, not us against each other.
Fuck.
And that we
That's
are
literally our mantra, our
literally
motto.
like, and there are times where sometimes we have to remind each other of that. I'll either remind him of like, hey, we're getting a little like trying to prove that we're right, either him or me or both. Like we're very even in that. Probably honestly, me more than him. He's, I think, one thing that I learned dating him is that like not that I didn't think that I had toxic behaviors or that I didn't have things I needed to work on, after getting a divorce because I worked on a lot of them, but I was like, ooh, I got some toxic behaviors. I gotta work on that. So, but yeah, I think
Same.
that we that's what makes it easy is because we that is so important to us that we are when we are in a disagreement or we're talking about something because I don't think we've ever had like a full-blown argument. Like maybe coming back from elements like we both got like a little bit heated, but it still felt like we were still trying to fix the problem at the end of the day. But we so badly want to understand the other person. What is it that you're upset about? And how can I hear you out and what you need? Versus, I just need you to hear why I'm right. That way it can be over with. And that was definitely an element of my past relationships. And I still have those feelings. I'm a fucking Virgo. Of course I want to be right. And
When it's not even so it can be over with, it's so that I can feel better.
yeah, exactly.
You know, what
But
and so what is selfishness gonna get you in a problem that the both of you are against?
yeah, and it's not going to feel good after because, okay, cool, I feel I'm right. Then he feels not heard, and then I feel that, and then it doesn't help. But being somebody who's a Virgo and loves being right, that's always hard for me. That's something I will admit is like I've had the mindset of like I feel like I'm right and I want you to know why I'm right, and but I've had to really work on if I think that all the time, just like I talk about constantly, like our brain looks for evidence for what we believe. And if I go into it being like, I'm the one that's right, I will not hear him naturally, not because of my personality, not because of trauma, but because my brain is searching for reasons why I'm right. And then the blinders come on, and he could be making a really good point, but I'm like this. And so I really have to work on that and I will continue to work on that. But I think that that's what we do a really good job of is we are so much like, let's fix this problem and let's hear each other out. But let's just finish this with a little rapid fire. I probably could do more of these, and if you love this episode, we'll do another one.
Yeah.
But I just have 5 of them for a fun little rapid fire, and it's like a who's more this or who does this, and so we're gonna point either to yourself or to the other person.
Okay.
Okay, who's more stubborn?
You asked for it.
I know. Who apologizes first? I don't. I apologize.
Yeah, you do. That wasn't the question.
I know.
Who apologizes more?
Well, that's just because I can't stop saying sorry. Um, what's our most random inside joke? Spare change.
I think,
There's so many we have, and of course, my brain can only think of that one. Is there another one that you can think of?
the most random one?
I feel like that's
No,
very,
that's definitely the most
it's
random.
most of it. 'Cause it was a random moment. You know what I mean? You don't have to explain it, but we gotta
Could
keep
you
it.
see me getting ready to
Yes, that's why I was like, don't. This is supposed to be rapid fire.
so fucking funny.
Ooh, this is really interesting. And I saw it first, so I'm kind of cheating, but who's more romantic? I think I am. You're a hopeless romantic, but I think I know
What?
how to display it a bit more because I've had more years on you.
I was just about to say because you're older.
I'm older and I've also was in a relationship. I lived with someone, I was married. Like I had more of a this is the first time you've lived with a partner. You know what I mean? Not that living with a partner can make you more romantic, but you're so eager. The thing, and I made a post about this. Another thing I really love about you is like, and not that this has to be like a way that you gauge whether you should date someone or not, but it could be. Because I made a post about it on TikTok and a lot of people were like, I agree with this. Is, and this is such a new age 21st century type of thing. In my past, when I saw cute things on social media with couples, and it would be like a partner doing something, a man doing something for his wife, or like doing something cute, I would either not share it with a partner because I was afraid that they were going to be like, why are you sending this to me? You think that I don't do things good enough? Or I just like would show it and then I would either get some kind of like smart ass response. Anytime I send him stuff or he's sending me things that guys are doing or couples are doing that are cute, his response is either, oh, saving it, taking notes, gonna do that,
Idea.
or like, damn, why didn't I think of that first? And it's always that's like just goes back to his ability to like take feedback because I'm not sending it to him like, look at what you don't do, because that's another thing for women out there. You like he's very receptive, but if I was delivering in a not so great way, over time that's going to wear him down. So if I sent him stuff and I was like, why don't you do this with me? Or why don't you do this for me? Over time, probably not going to get as good of a response from him. So also hold yourself accountable to how you communicate with your partner because you might want something from a man, but you need to also show up as well. So keep that in mind.
Also on the side of the man, like has to do with like how you take it with
If you're
has
insecure
to do
enough.
with how if you're insecure or not. And if you're insecure, step the fuck up and make some changes.
If you're getting defensive, then you have to check like why am I getting defensive? You know what I mean? Okay, last one. If I don't know if I like this one. Why did I even put this in here? If our relationship had a theme song, what would it be? I feel like there's so many. I don't know if I can think of a good
I can
one.
see it in your face. I can see it inside your face.
Oh my God.
Because we can see we both wear our emotions on our faces.
Oh, that is a good one. I can
Yeah.
see it in your face,
It's like
Pretty
an
Lights.
inside joke, but theme song.
What also our favorite Pretty Lights song, and we of course have the same Pretty Light, same favorite Pretty Lights song. Well, let's finish this with last little question, then we'll close this out. And please share this episode with someone that you know, share it with your partner, share it on social media. Also, leave a review. It really, really is like the best way that you can support my channel. And I'm gonna put this on YouTube. So if you like this and you're like, oh my God, Alexis, I want you to it's probably less interesting when it's just me, I imagine, but which is probably why I haven't shared it on YouTube. But if you want me to do more stuff on YouTube, let me know as well. Uh-oh, Ned's coming over. He's done with this. He's like, I'm over it. Good timing, buddy. I was gonna do this as like a couples question, but now I'm realizing I want to split it. I want to ask it for you for a man and me for a woman. If you could give one piece of advice to a man, whether single or in a relationship, what would you give them to like be a better partner, have a good relationship? There's so many, of course, we could give, but what would be one that comes to mind first?
I would say keep your ears open because I feel like there's more information being shared with you than you realize about how to please and satisfy and have a healthy relationship. It's all right in front of you. Just open your ears, quit playing COD, and listen to
Or play it less at
your
least.
woman.
Jesus. Hell yes. Okay, we kiss. Um, I think my advice for a woman, I kind of was sharing it earlier, but is it's kind of similar actually. Surprise, surprise. We have the same thing, and I love that I have this black shirt on, and he's gonna get hair all over it. Um, I think would be to we know in this world we love to say that like all men suck and dating is abysmal and all these things. And that can definitely be true. There is a higher percentage of men because of society, because of the way men were raised, that aren't necessarily the greatest. But there's a lot of really, really good men out there. And after meeting Brodin and having my eyes look and my brain look for evidence that that's true, I see a lot more of them. Um, so with that in mind, I think you need to make sure that you are taking accountability for what you need to work on
Mm.
as a woman and like take out the fact that like men do wrong things and whatever it is that you're thinking and ask yourself, how do I show up as the version of myself that can attract the kind of man that I want? Do I have the capacity to hold that? Because I could not have attracted a man like him had I met him 7 years ago because I just wouldn't have had the capacity. I wouldn't have been able to communicate. I wouldn't have been able to, like, I might have attracted him, but I wouldn't have been able to keep him. And so, if you want a high quality relationship and a high quality man, you need to be able to hold have the capacity to hold that kind of relationship. So keep yourself accountable and don't just put all the blame on men suck because then you're going to end up continuing to wonder why, like, why are I'm going on these dates with men that suck? If there's a pattern, it's not just that men suck. It might be that you're attracting them for a specific reason. So, hell yeah. Well, if you like this episode, let me know. Share it on Instagram, share it all the places. We really appreciate it.
Comment
eh,
W Brodin.
Bro. Sometimes he is 26 years old, so we gotta deal with it sometimes. But all right, peace out, and remember, if it's no longer working, burn it the fuck down. Bye.